possible major spoiler on the Roman Reigns vs Sami Zayn Undisputed Universal Championship match outcome this weekend at Elimination Chamber. Speaking of that, will the Usos be at the show tonight at SmackDown and Elimination Chamber on Saturday? We've got details on that. Plus, Trish Stratus, her return to WWE was recently scrapped. However, there are still WrestleMania plans for the WWE Hall of Famer. Jay White has spoken about his future in professional wrestling amid rumors he could be leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling for WWE. Corey Graves has seemingly confirmed an in-ring return in WWE in the future. WWE is also reportedly considering NXT star Carmelo Hayes to be a part of the Hurt Business on the main roster. A former New Japan star, is set to make his debut in NXT this evening. Ava Raine is set to undergo a name change in WWE, and Asuka has been announced for a match tonight on SmackDown. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Of course, this coming weekend, it's Elimination Chamber, and it's headlined by the Undisputed Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns, the defending champion, against the challenger, the hometown competitor in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, that being Sami Zayn. Now, Dave Meltzer reports in the New Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE's original plan was for Sami Zayn to lose the match against Reigns at Elimination Chamber this weekend, and, spoilers ahead, for Jey Uso to turn on him, and that would set up Zayn and Kevin Owens challenging the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles at WrestleMania. But, as Meltzer points out though, quote, a lot has changed since then. That doesn't mean that the plans as of right now have changed, but it does mean that Paul Levesque, Triple H, has a decision to make whether to stick with the initial vision or to fulfill fans' current wishes. If Zayn does get the win at Elimination Chamber, Meltzer reports it would be, quote, a late deviation from the script. If it was Vince McMahon, we know he did have a tendency to change things up if the fans pushed for it. Of course, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 in 2014, Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania 35 in 2019. But he wouldn't actually make that person the top star of the company. It would just be a token feel-good moment that they get at WrestleMania and win the title. However, of course, this is the first time that the Levesque has been in this situation, so I'll have to wait and see if he backs the original plans, the original visions, over what some fans, not all fans, but some fans reportedly want right now. Meltzer points out that though Sami Zayn has proven to be, quote, an actual numbers mover, which actually makes him a more attractive prospect than Bryan and Kingston were when they were slotted in. Essentially, we're still going to have to wait and see, but if Levesque sticks to his original vision, that means Zayn losing and Jey Uso turning on him this weekend. Meltzer confirmed the status of the Usos, which we'll talk about in just a second, and there was an insinuation on SmackDown last week that they couldn't appear, was just to make people think that they weren't going to show up tonight on SmackDown or Elimination Chamber to make the surprise bigger. Now, again, let's talk more about the Usos, because of course the Usos are a big part in this, specifically if Jey Uso does indeed turn on Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. And a major update has emerged on whether the Usos can appear at this weekend's Elimination Chamber Premium Live event. The highly anticipated show will emanate from the Bell Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada on Saturday, February 18. At the event, as I mentioned, Sami Zayn will challenge for Roman Reigns' WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. With the Bloodline storyline reaching a culmination, many have wondered whether the Usos will be in Montreal for the show. Jimmy Uso has previously been unavailable to enter Canada, reportedly due to his history with DUIs. After previously indicating that Jimmy could be at the event, Dave Meltzer has now reported that both Usos can legally go to Canada. Meltzer wrote the following in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, quote, on SmackDown, Paul Heyman told Jimmy Uso that Reigns wants both Usos to stay at home. This is an angle in some form. Both Usos can legally go to Canada, so that's not a cover story to explain them not being there, but a storyline playing off the idea some people expect the story is a cover to explain them not being there. This isn't saying that they will be there, but it is to put the idea in your head that they won't be. So what Meltzer is trying to say there in this sort of garbled language is that essentially it could be a red herring. It's to plant the seed of doubt going, well, definitely the Usos aren't going to show up. And then when they do, you go, I thought they weren't allowed to be in Canada. So they're kind of weaving in fans' perception of what could happen or what was going to happen, and then the reality is a bit different and we're surprised because I think the expectation for most fans is that Jimmy or Jey Uso, or a combination of them both, will prevent Sami Zayn from winning the match on Saturday. But with the confusion about their legal status preventing them from getting into the country and WWE seemingly writing them off television, the surprise would be greater if and when they do show up. Now, Sami Zayn has been doing a lot of media ahead of this match because, let's face it, it's the biggest match of his career, and Sami Zayn has commented on Kevin Owens' role in WWE's epic story of the Bloodline ahead of his match against Roman Reigns. Ahead of his major Elimination Chamber title bout against Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn has acknowledged the delicate role Kevin Owens played in the Bloodline storyline. Speaking to Sportsnet Canada, Sami Zayn spoke about the role that Kevin Owens plays in the epic that has become the ongoing saga of the Bloodline. Zayn said of Kevin Owens' involvement in the story, quote, "Kevin's involvement was a point of contention as far as how much and when, especially with me and Kevin, because we're hypersensitive to the fact that we've done so much together. We're delicate about how we're used together because we don't want fans to ever get sick of this. And it's challenging to constantly keep something you've been doing for 20 years for fans not only to be to the point where they're saying this again, but to actually be okay with it and never mind being okay with it, but excited to see it. Even though these are two guys I've seen together across the room from each other literally thousands of times, you still get them excited. That's very, very, very hard to do." Now, of course, again, I think the delicate role that he's played has been key to this whole storyline and the execution of it. From some people within WWE have said that it should be worthy of Emmy consideration. Whether or not you agree with that, you can let me know in the comment section below. Now, Trish Stratus. What's going on with Trish Stratus and Lita at the moment? Because people are a bit confused because Lita came back and then we're not sure what's going on with her for WrestleMania. Well, scrap plans for the return of WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus may be revisited ahead of WrestleMania 39. It was previously reported that WWE had cancelled plans for the return of Trish Stratus on the February 13 edition of Raw this week, following Lita's return on the previous week's episode. Dave Meltzer now reports that Stratus's return angle isn't dead. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer noted that Stratus wasn't scheduled to compete at Elimination Chamber, so she still could make her comeback in the future. Regarding Damage Control's current plans for WrestleMania 39, Meltzer writes, quote, "Trish Stratus at one point was scheduled for Raw on February 13 at the Barclays Center, but it was cancelled. The reports were it was due to Dakota Kai's injury. On paper, it sounds like they were trying to build to Lynch and Lita and Stratus versus Damage Control. We were told that the Stratus angle isn't dead and that match wasn't scheduled for Elimination Chamber. Kai and Sky defending the women's tag team titles against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler is still on for WrestleMania. Whether that means Damage Control would work twice over Mania or something completely different isn't known at this point, only that there was a planned angle for this past week to bring Stratus back. That was cancelled and is still expected to be revisited at some point. With Stratus being from Canada, of course, there has been some speculation she'll make an appearance at Saturday's Elimination Chamber Premium Live event. That is still possible. They could just move the angle they were going to do on Raw over to Elimination Chamber. As of right now, Becky Lynch and Bayley aren't scheduled to be wrestling at the show, so certainly they could do a segment that launches something as we build into WrestleMania in April. Now, Jay White, what's going on with Jay White? Well, quite a lot's going on with Jay White at the moment. We're going to split this across two videos today. So there's a bit in this video when it regards to WWE, but also a bit later on in today's AEW news video where we usually focus more on the New Japan side of things. Now, Jay White has been hot on the lips of wrestling fans since his recent Loser Leaves Japan loss to Hikuleo at the New Japan New Beginning in Osaka show. White's future has been speculated, with many believing that either WWE or AEW will be his landing point. Speaking to Sports Illustrated, White broke his silence on his wrestling future, noting that so much is possible. He said, quote, "So much is possible. Impact, AEW, WWE, we'll see. I'm at peace with it. I don't know if there's much more I could have done. I don't feel like I left a bunch of boxes unchecked. I've been living it, so it can't be hard to appreciate it in the moment. But as I move on, I've started to look back at the weight some of it holds. As time goes on, I hope people appreciate it even more. To me, I was doing what I was meant to be doing. Now I'm looking at what's next. I can't go back to Japan, but there is nothing that says I can't compete at the shows in the United States. Hikuleo was everything I always knew he was. I've always believed in him. I'm proud of him, and his moment came against me. So now we're tied to each other forever. Those within WWE are reportedly confident they'll be able to land White, but that's far from confirmed at this point. Now, it has been confirmed that White's match against Eddie Kingston has a new stipulation, which is the loser can never wrestle for New Japan Pro Wrestling again, seemingly confirming Jay White's departure from the company. We're going to get into that way more in today's AEW news video, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified when that video is posted. But it's not the only New Japan Pro Wrestling star that recently has been linked with WWE. With the change in WWE creative last year, many wrestling fans from outside the company have had rumored interest from Triple H to bring them into the company. One name that WWE has reported interest is the current never openweight champion Tama Tonga, who took the title from WWE's Carl Anderson back at Wrestle Kingdom 17 on January 4th. Speaking to Tokyo Sports, Tama Tonga noted that WWE are, quote, knocking hard on his door and that he might say hello. He said, quote, I'm always the guy at the top. Look what I have accomplished in my short career in Japan. I started the best unit ever, the Bullet Club. I was ostracized. Nobody believed me, but that's okay. All you need is yourself. All you need is to believe in yourself. I will be the best wrestler. It could be the ultimate legend of New Japan Pro Wrestling, or it could be WWE, because WWE is knocking hard on my door, and I might say hello. As I mentioned, he's far from the only New Japan star that WWE has interest in. We spoke about Jay White, but in addition to that, there has reportedly been interest in Hikuleo, the person who defeated White in that Loser Leaves Japan match. And it's not just the only former New Japan star that WWE is interested in. They're also reportedly in signing former New Japan star Kota Ibushi, whose contract expired earlier this year. So keep an eye out, because we could see several New Japan stars end up in WWE or other companies as the year goes on, including one that's going to debut tonight on NXT television, which we'll get into shortly. Corey Graves. Yes, Corey Graves. Not a lot of people know. It was a big story maybe a year or so ago. Corey Graves is cleared. He can wrestle if he wants to. And did he just confirm a potential in-ring return after previously commenting that he was cleared in relationship to previous premium live events? Again, this isn't a secret that he's been cleared for quite a while by WWE. It seems that Corey Graves really could be headed back to a WWE ring. Talking to Pop Culture Online, Graves said, quote, I've recently started working with the NXT talent on helping develop characters and things of that nature, and I've really enjoyed it thus far. So I'm really looking forward to working with NXT a lot more as the year progresses. I'd like to remind everybody one more time that I have been cleared to compete and can't think of a better scenario for me to step back in the ring than alongside my beautiful wife. Of course, Corey Graves originally debuted with WWE, where he featured in NXT from 2011 to 2014. However, he was forced to retire at the time after concerns related to concussions. For his part, his real-life wife, Carmella, has a major upcoming match of her own to worry about as she faces off against 5 other women in the Elimination Chamber match this coming weekend. Of course, the winner will be facing Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. But Corey Graves could return to the ring at any point. I'm not sure if this training with NXT is an indicator that he's going to be coming back anytime soon. But the whole teaming up with his wife, that is something that has been put out there before. And who knows, it could certainly happen in the future. Speaking of NXT, one name who is a standout on that roster is Carmelo Hayes, and WWE has reportedly had discussions about calling up a certain NXT star as a member of the Hurt Business faction on the main roster. Although it hasn't quite played out yet, it looks inevitable from watching Raw in recent weeks that the Hurt Business will indeed get back together, and it sounds like there could be a major new member on the way too. The Hurt Business was, of course, made up in 2020 of MVP primarily in a managerial role, Bobby Lashley, who was the WWE champion and United States champion at different points, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, who at one point were the Raw Tag Team champions. According to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, there have been discussions of calling up two-time NXT North American champion Carmelo Hayes to join the group. Meltzer reiterates that this was, quote, discussion and not definite, but there have been definitely talks of having Hayes being called up to the main roster. This is interesting because MVP recently said in an interview that he hopes to work with Carmelo Hayes as Hayes reminds him of a young version of himself. Unless there are any changes to plans, Hayes is set to challenge Bron Breakker for the NXT Championship at Stand and Deliver on the afternoon of WrestleMania 39 Night 1, that being April 1st. With regards to the Hurt Business, some have predicted we may get an official reunion at Elimination Chamber as part of Lashley's match against Brock Lesnar. That could pave the way to set up a rematch for WrestleMania, which is what most people expect at this point, as nothing else has been teased for either Lashley or Lesnar. There's also a question of whether Omos would be involved, as MVP has been managing him post-Hurt Business, and they haven't been split up as of right now. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Hurt Business, but keep an eye on it. We could get several new members along with a faction reunion very, very soon. Now, I spoke about a former New Japan star debuting in WWE this evening, and after announcing his New Japan departure in August of last year, Carl Fredericks was spotted at the Performance Center the following month for WWE. It was later reported that Fredericks had signed with WWE. WWE has now confirmed that Fredericks will be in action on tonight's February 17 edition of NXT Level Up. His name change was also confirmed, with WWE billing Fredericks as Eddie Thorpe. The following match preview was shared on WWE.com. Quote, "An amazing episode of NXT Level Up will feature Valentina Feroz and Ivy Nile clashing in a highly anticipated main event. Eddie Thorpe making his debut against Dante Chen, and Obafemi taking on Zion Quinn. Thorpe is an intriguing newcomer who has competed all over the world and has a chance to turn heads if he can defeat his fellow veteran Chen." Fredericks joined New Japan in the LA dojo in 2018, making his debut for the promotion that November. He last wrestled for New Japan during Strong Collision taping in May with his match against AEW star QT Marshall, but he's going to be making his NXT Level Up debut this evening. Speaking of NXT, we have a name change as well for The Rock's daughter, which I always feel a bit uncomfortable saying because she's her own person. Simone Johnson, daughter of WWE icon Dwayne The Rock Johnson, has been signed to WWE for several years before she eventually debuted on NXT television last year. Johnson, using her ring name Ava Raine, joined Joe Gacy's Schism group on the October 25 episode of NXT, joining forces with Gacy, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed. Recently, the group found itself at war with Chase U, with Ava abducting Thea Hale and costing Thea her match with Tiffany Stratton on last week's show. However, it appears as though the days of Ava Raine are over, as her WWE.com profile now simply lists her as Ava. Ava joins the long list of WWE stars who have had their full names chopped to simply be one-word names, including the likes of Angel, Humberto, Shotzi, and Big E. But Triple H has given some first names back to the likes of Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, and Austin Theory when he took over WWE Creative last year. But now, instead of Ava Raine, it's just Ava. Finally, SmackDown is tonight. It's the go-home show for the Elimination Chamber event tomorrow in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And on the February 13 episode of Raw, Asuka, Carmella, and Nikki Cross defeated Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Natalya, with the Empress of Tomorrow making Morgan tap out. In a tweet on Thursday, Asuka posted a video of herself battering Liv during the bout in response to an exchange between Morgan and Carmella. The caption read, quote, "No one is ready for Elimination Chamber as Asuka." Morgan replied in a quote tweet reading, quote, "How about you get an earlier flight to Montreal so we can test that theory out?" This led to WWE official Adam Pearce posting on Twitter to make a match between the two competitors on this Friday's SmackDown ahead of Elimination Chamber. The tweet reads, quote, "Breaking. Clearly Asuka and Liv Morgan have unresolved issues lingering from Raw. They will get the chance to resolve them in person tomorrow night on SmackDown when they go one-on-one in Montreal. It's official." Asuka and Liv Morgan will also take part in the Women's Elimination Chamber against Rodriguez, Cross, Carmella, and Natalya at the titular event this Saturday on February 18. Of course, the winner of the bout will face Bianca Belair for the WWE Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania 39 in April. So Asuka will be on SmackDown tonight. So there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. You get members priority chat. You get badges, emojis, and upcoming members exclusive only content, which is the likes of historic match watch-alongs, especially as we get into WrestleMania season. We're going to be doing a lot of historic WrestleMania match watch-alongs, WrestleMania show watch-alongs, debate shows, interviews, all of the above. It's going to be available to members of the WN365 roster. So if you want to get involved in that, click that join button. I'm out of here. Have a great Friday, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.